Hello, in this video I'm just going to take a look at why, if you are an employee, you should be very reluctant, very slow to resign from your job. The bottom line is that if an employer dismisses you, it must be a fair dismissal, and you can bring a case then for unfair dismissal, and in those circumstances the employer would have to prove that the dismissal was fair and justified. So the burden of proof is on the employer. It can be difficult for the employer to justify a dismissal because many employers get the procedure wrong. All employees are entitled to fair procedure and natural justice, and in fact 80% of unfair dismissal cases are lost because of the absence of fair procedures in carrying out the dismissal by the employer. On the other hand, if you resign as an employee because of what you claim is the intolerable conduct of the employer, you must prove you had no option but to resign. So the burden of proof shifts from the employer to the employee. If you resign as employee, you must prove you had no option but to resign. And this proof, the standard of proof, is quite high. It's actually hard to win a case. It's not enough just to show that the employer was unpleasant, or that the workplace was unpleasant, or that you had, suffered unfair treatment or whatever. You really must prove that you had no option but to quit. Now, there are two exceptions, or there are exceptions to every rule, and there are two circumstances where you may well be justified in quitting your job. Number one, where to continue on in the employment it may be injurious to your health and well-being, or where two, you can negotiate an exit, a settlement agreement which is satisfactory to you and avoids the inevitable dismissal termination. In these circumstances, clearly you would have to seriously consider leaving the job for your own well-being and for your own health. Many employees are worn out with the anxiety and hassle of work and of the sort of difficulties that they face on a daily basis. Some of them quit and just move on. However, if they do that, they have made things easier, much easier for the employer, and clearly situation is not going to improve in the workplace for following employees. Now, you may not be too concerned about following employees, but you do need to consider that if you're going to quit the workplace, if you're going to leave your job, you really do need to have exhausted all internal procedures first and let the employer know what the problem is, what are the difficulties, and give him every opportunity to resolve them. In those circumstances, you may well be justified in leaving, and you may well have a case for constructive dismissal. But as I said at the outset, the standard of proof required to win a constructive dismissal case, that is, where you leave the job, is quite high. And it is much easier to win a case where the dismissal is carried out by the employer. My name is Terry Gorry. I'm a solicitor in Enfield in County Meath. My website is businessandlegal.ie or employmentrightsireland.com, or you can just Google my name, Terry Gorry, Gorry.